Welcome to Dem Boyz, a podcast that's rapidly rising up the board thanks to its workouts. We're one Saints fan and one Cowboys fan, one fan of Who Dat and one fan of Dat Win. We're here to give weekly takes, game recaps, bad betting picks, game previews, and some Seinfeld references.
With the NFL draft rapidly approaching, each week we'd like to highlight one former Saint and one former Cowboy who was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. This week, our patron saint is linebacker Mark Fields. Mark Fields was drafted 13th overall in the 1995 draft out of Washington State. I got to double check that. I think it might have been. No, it was Washington State. Yeah, I apologize. It is Washington State. Fields remained with the Saints for 6 seasons, was named to the Pro Bowl in his final season with the team in the year 2000. From there, he spent 1 season with the then St. Louis Rams before finishing his career with the Carolina Panthers. Fields would miss the entire 2003 season with Hodgkin's disease, but did return for a final season in 2004. This draft, Fields being drafted, was one of the many disappointments for young Paul. That draft in 1995, I was hoping the Saints would draft a running back from Michigan by the name of Tyrone Wheatley. So that's a shame.
That's a shame. Our patron Cowboy this week, in honor of defensive tackle Osa Odigizua signing his contract, we are celebrating Russell Maryland, the defensive tackle who was drafted first overall in 1991 out of Miami. He spent his first 5 seasons with the Cowboys, racking up 3 Super Bowl rings and 1 Pro Bowl appearance before joining the Raiders for 4 seasons. He finished his career with the Packers in 2000, where he started all 16 games. He finished his career with 24.5 sacks and just 1 Pro Bowl appearance. He was the last defensive tackle the Cowboys had drafted in the first round until 2 years ago. Mozzie Smith was drafted out of Michigan.
I'm Paul, the Saints fan.
I'm Brandon, the Cowboys fan.
We're your hosts. Izzy, tell them what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Roundabout, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time.
It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it! It's go time!
It's go time.
All right. A few housekeeping items before we get into this week's festivities. If you'd like to contact the show, you can do so via email at blessdemboyz@gmail.com. That's BLESSDEMBOYZ@gmail.com. On Twitter, new handle. I need to update the script.
I was going to...
Our handle is at bless_dem_boys.
It's relatively new in like a cosmic sense.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of time. It's relatively new.
What's funny is the other day I went on my personal account, which is at Paul Elliott _316, and I was shocked to find out that I've been on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, since 2009, which is baffling to me. But
I think my account birthday is in 2015, and it's on April 20th, which is just, it's on 420, which is just a coincidence. Like the world's not playing that way.
Of course. I joined my personal account. I joined in 2009, June of 2009, just in time to watch the Saints win the Super Bowl. But that's enough of that. So again, you can follow us at bless_dem_boys. I'm at Paul Elliott _316. That's PAULELLIOTT _316. Brandon is at Ball from Grace. I thought of another celebrity we should try to get to follow us, but I lost it. I don't remember.
Oh, who won the 40-yard dash? Was it Bond? Isaiah Bond?
No, it was Golden. No, it was Golden. Golden Boy. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I knew it was. I thought it was one of the UT guys, but
you want to.
I'll shoot our shot for that one.
Yeah. you guys have more in common than I do.
Yes.
So you go ahead with that. You can also follow us. We're still on Blue Sky. I was checking that out earlier because we're working on something. How many followers we got? So we're still at 4 followers on Blue Sky. So we're
We're killing it.
we're slow. We're getting there. We're getting there. Um, the Russian bots haven't found us on Blue Sky yet, I guess. If you're listening to this, first of all, thank you. But you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and review. Subscribe. Leave a rating and review. Appreciate all the feedback, all the good energy, good vibes. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell random strangers on the street. Let's move on to before we get to the football, obviously a lot to talk about with the draft combine being taking place last week.
It's in the books.
It's in the books, but we at Bless Them Boys, we pride ourselves on being able to talk about other things.
But enough about fish. I can't discuss other things,
Well, Brandon, what shenanigans you get up to this week?
All right, so I've had a pretty eventful weekend this weekend. My wife was out camping with the kids with some of our friends, and so I held down the fort.
That's right. I did get a text from you saying that you had the abode to yourself, and
I did.
I believe you were watching some Seinfeld, maybe.
I watched some Seinfeld. I watched a little bit of The Office. Those are the 2 shows I'll just put on. I need background noise, so I did those. But I also watched the Best Picture winner, Anora, this weekend.
Oh, little Rochelle action going on there.
Yeah, a little bit of male curiosity for about the first 40 minutes of the film. So so it's it opens in a strip club, and it's it was a madhouse.
So, which of the Seinfeld 4 do we think would be most likely to be in Anora? Kramer?
Oh, absolutely Kramer.
Absolutely. Okay.
George is only there by accident. He followed somebody in there.
Right.
There was one part in the movie where the guy's like, I can't spend too much money, and the girl's like, oh, well, let's go over to the ATM. We'll just get a little bit of money, honey. And so I was like, this is George right here. George has had too much to drink. Right. The woman's trying to take him over to what's your code, honey? Bosco.
Oh man, that's great.
It was a good movie. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed Nosferatu a little more personally.
Okay.
Did you watch The Brutalist?
No, I had considered. So my kids, we had a play date at the house Saturday, and I had considered using that time to go see The Brutalist, but my wife wasn't feeling well, so I felt like I needed to kind of hang around the house just to help out, just in case. So I did not get to see The Brutalist. I do still want to see it.
It seems like such a commitment.
It really does.
It's
a lot of yearning.
There's a lot of yearning. There's an episode of I watched an episode of the X-Files with a Seinfeld connection. I sent you a picture of this. Kenny.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Kenny Bania in a Chargers cap.
Did I miss this? You texted this to me?
You don't remember me sending you this picture?
What was I doing?
Hold on. I said something about it too.
Hang on here.
Because you said you responded.
It's good radio here.
Elaine thought that it wasn't Bouts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So that episode opens with, or they go through the main opening, and then they show Bania listening to the game on his headphones with his Chargers cap
Okay.
on,
Okay.
and he's like screaming, and like the game is like the Chargers have just won the game, and he's screaming, "Fouts is God."
Oh wow,
And
this
so
is this is the Fouts days. This isn't even St.
yeah.
Humphreys.
Oh yeah, this is like early '90s.
We're going way back. No, Fouts is like 80s. Fouts, I
It wouldn't.
don't think
Oh, how long did he?
I don't think Fouts made it to the 90s, my friend. I don't.
Let's see. Oh, 87. I don't think the X-Files, but the X-Files weren't running.
I don't know what.
Unless
Nah,
it's
I don't. Yeah.
that sort of raises a lot of questions about the X-Files that I have now.
Well, what was the tagline for the show? The answers are out there, or something like that.
Something like that.
Something.
Yeah. So I watched that. Saturday evening, I went and had to do some shopping. I was trying to get a couple of long sleeve shirts before we leave on our trip next week.
Okay.
So I was like, I do have. So I went to Kohl's, got a couple of just plain tees, and I was like, I'd kind of like to get a Longhorn shirt. So, I'm right next to an academy, former employer of one of our hosts.
Yep.
So I went into the store, and I got to say, after looking around, I have some issues.
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
So I walk in, and I'm like, all right, let's look for the team.
Now, before you, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your airing your grievances, but let's emphasize. One of us on this call is a former employee.
Yes.
Emphasis on former.
So
continue.
So I walk in and I start looking for branded gear, and then I finally turn and I see the section. A lot of Texan stuff, a lot of Rocket stuff.
Yep.
That's fine. And then I see the college section, and it's Texas A&M, LSU, and Prairie View A&M. And that's it. No Longhorn stuff.
I'm out.
Yep. I was irritated. So I just walked out of the store. I said, "That's it. I've had enough here."
Did you give them a huff? Did you like march out in a huff, or did you?
No, I should have given them more of a huff. They got automatic doors. I can't even slam the door though. I can't even make a scene. It's like the cordless phone, right? That'll show them.
I'm surprised Jerry didn't have a bit about that. It's like
not being able to slam an automatic door. How am I supposed to storm out here? The doors are sliding up. I'm not supposed to run into it.
What's the deal with automatic doors? I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, very disappointing. So after that, I went out to dinner. I had a burger at Creekwood Grill, which is a nice place up the road here. Good beer. And then one other note, I did get a new phone recently, which came with 3 months of Apple TV Plus. So I will be watching Severance in the near future.
All right.
So we'll be able to chat about that on the show.
You should also check out Shrinking while you're at it.
Yeah, my wife wants to watch that, so we'll probably end up with that one too.
I think because I know you and I are both. I think I speak for you when I say we're both Ted Lasso fans.
Yes.
So same guys. Same guys are running that show. So
I did catch a little bit of the Oscars. I kind of watched. I watched more of the end stuff. I did see Honora won Best Picture. Did you catch any of that, Paul?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned on the show last week, I was really looking forward to watching it because Conan O'Brien was hosting this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at 6:00 or whatever time it started. I was set, ready to go. I thought Conan's his opening monologue was kind of a throwback to days gone by. If you remember, like in the 90s when Billy Crystal would host the Oscars, like those kind of, I really, really enjoyed it. Really thought it was good.
Billy Crystal made an appearance, didn't he? Him
He
and
did. He gave out Best Picture. He and Meg Ryan
Meg Ryan,
from
yeah,
the
from
Harry
Harry
Met
Met
Sally.
Sally.
Yeah, Harry Met Sally. They gave out Best Picture. So I had Newman off by that point. But or actually, to be fair, I had switched to watching White Lotus because White Lotus is on Sunday nights. So I'd switched to that. But I'll
Sweet.
talk about that more.
Yeah,
Go
what
ahead.
else did you get up to?
Yeah. So yeah, watched White Lotus. But real quick on the Oscars, I I didn't really have many dogs in the fight, so to speak. Like
Mhm.
I didn't like a lot. I hadn't seen a lot of the movies that were nominated.
Yeah, Anora was the
Uh,
one that I wanted to like check out because I've heard a lot of
yeah.
people talk about it.
I think of the 10 that were nominated for Best Picture, I want to say I know I saw Conclave and I saw Dune Part 2.
I saw that one too.
But I don't think I saw any of the other ones outside of those two. I know I didn't see, like I said, a couple of them are on my list. Anora is actually, I read today, it's coming to Hulu. I want to say March 17th.
Okay, so in the near future.
Yeah, the very near future. So, anyway, so I mentioned watch White Lotus. The episode this week was a little kind of a chest moving the chess pieces around on the board type of episode, if that makes sense. Like kind of getting things ready for down the road. Finished Paradise. This is the show on Hulu that they just wrapped up season 1. Really good show. Can't recommend it enough. But I don't want to talk about it too much because if you talk about it too much, you're going to spoil stuff. But all I'll say is just folks should check it out. It's really good. So I'll leave it at that. You mentioned Severance. Yeah, I'm still watching Severance. The episode this past week was really good. Probably one of the better episodes of the season. Maybe one of the better episodes of the entire show. Honestly, I don't want to oversell it, but
I did see out of the Best Picture. I did also see Wicked.
Yeah, I saw pieces of Wicked. I saw like the last third of Wicked. My wife was watching it night with her.
Have you heard anything about the Amelia Perez thing?
Yeah, I know Conan made a joke about it in his monologue. I think I'm gonna get it wrong, but he said something like the setup was the film Anora uses the F word 200 and whatever many times, and that's 3 more than whatever the person's name is from Amelia Perez that made all the
racist remarks.
Yeah, all the remarks. That's 3 more than her publicist or whatever. And so,
yeah, that's about right.
And then he followed it up with, "Listen, if you're going to tweet about my performance tonight, my name is Jimmy Kimmel," or something like that. So yeah, I am aware. I am aware of.
I've also heard a lot about the. There was one particular song from that movie that.
I don't know much about.
I'm not gonna say the lyrics on the air.
Okay, fair enough. I had considered watching it because Selena Gomez is in that movie, right?
Yeah,
yeah, and I'm a fan of Selena Gomez from Only Murders in the Building.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's really good in that. I've liked Zoe Saldana in most things I've seen her in. She actually won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. So kudos to her. That was. It's not on high on my list to see. I'm trying to think what other TV. I will mention I haven't watched it yet, but today, the day we're recording this, the new Daredevil series premieres on Disney Plus. Daredevil Born Again.
Ben Affleck?
No, no, not that we're not going that far back. It's not Daredevil Resurrection. It's Daredevil. It's Daredevil Born Again. It's with the cast from the
Resurrection
Netflix.
Born Again, that's the same thing, Paul. Resurrection Born
Yeah, that's
Again.
Yeah, you make a fine point. I guess what I was trying to say is like I was trying to quantify the level of Born Again. I guess. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. But I did watch in honor of Gene Hackman. Rest in peace to Gene Hackman, one of the finest actors around, for sure, in his time. I know I don't want to talk too much about his death. There's a lot of mysteries still around.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, but we wish all the best to his family for sure. But he was, it's one of those things where like I started looking around like in the movies he was in, and I started thinking I've watched a lot of his films for the first time within the last year or so. Like we've probably talked about some of them on the show, like French Connection, The Conversation, Crimson Tide. I had seen Unforgiven, but I rewatched it recently.
Crimson Tide about the Alabama team.
Yes. That was that's the Bear Bryant years.
Exactly.
They're coming out with Crimson Tide 2, Saban's Revenge later this year.
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving
Oh.
You never miss.
I'll be here all week, folks.
Another bullseye. But in honor of him, I was trying to find a movie of his I had not seen before, and I ended up watching a movie called Night Moves. It's from 1975.
Based on the Bob Seger song.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Every time I hear it, that's exactly what I was thinking. He actually plays a former football player turned private detective who is asked. He gets hired by this kind of socialite woman to find her daughter. Her daughter ran away, and he has to track her down. And the daughter is played by a young Melanie Griffith, if you can imagine that. But yeah, Hackman's. The best thing I can say about Gene Hackman is there will be no other Gene Hackman. He was one of one. I mean, you can see that in almost every role he played. I mean, he was just really good, and like I said, rest in peace to a living an acting legend, for sure. I did watch. You mentioned Nosferatu earlier. I know we talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago when you saw it. I watched Robert Eggers' film called The Northman. We may have talked about it with Bill Skarsgård. I had seen a lot of rumblings about it, and it was something, man. It was like
he goes full force into whatever he's doing. It's going to be he's going to get fully into it.
You talking about Eggers or Skarsgård? Eggers, yeah. Well,
I think that honestly both ways.
I mean, it was and a pretty good cast. Nicole Kidman plays.
She's in everything.
She's but yeah, it's really good. I'm not a big. We talked about this with Nosferatu. I'm not a big horror movie fan, but The Northman I don't really classify as horror so much. I mean, there is some horror elements for sure, but
there's some horror elements in Honora too.
Well, still, I want to go in fresh. We need to get that drop from Frank.
I would do.
And then I watched. Speaking of Seinfeld, I watched a movie with very deep Seinfeld connections. That's Midnight Cowboy.
John Voight, the dentist.
John Voight, yeah, the periodontist. Yes,
periodontist. That's right.
In season 6, the season 6 episode, the Mom and Pop Store. This is the episode where George thinks he bought actor John Voight's LeBaron.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out to be John Voight the periodontist. There's also a direct homage at the very end with
With the
Kramer and
nosebleed.
Jared on the bus. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
that is, and this is the first time I had ever seen Midnight Cowboy. For those who haven't seen the movie, it's from the 70s. I forget what year. It may actually come up later when we do our draft, but it stars John Voight. It was one of his first, might have been his first big role. Dustin Hoffman is in the movie. It won Best Picture. Speaking of the Oscars, it won Best Picture the year it came out, and it was at the time, or well, with the way what I'm hearing about Honora, this may not be the case anymore. But Midnight Cowboy was considered like the first X-rated movie to win Best Picture.
Mm.
But yeah, it's rough in some parts. I'll be honest. It's I don't know if it's one you're gonna want to turn on watch every day, but it's a good movie. It is what it is. Good performances
It's a
from
classic,
Hoffman.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Really sleazy. Dustin, I talked about Hoffman last week because I watched Rain Man, and
Mm-hmm.
this could not be. This could not be. I mean, it's kind of there's some similarities, but like he's really sleazy in Midnight Cowboy. So recommend it. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Anything else we watched this week? Want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it. I was able to get my grievances out,
Good,
so
good,
that was the main thing.
good. Well, I'm glad. That's what we're here for, right?
Yep.
All right, let's move on to some news and notes. I'll kick this one off here. The Saints got their defensive staff almost completed. The team is almost fully assembled. They did bring on a couple extra pieces. I don't know if I mentioned last week. They hired a defensive line coach, Bo Davis from LSU. They've hired, and I don't recall what all these gentlemen's positions are, but I'll just kind of go through the list here. Grady Brown, Jay Rogers was the defensive line coach for the Falcons. Obviously, I just mentioned Bo Davis is the defensive line coach with the Saints, so I don't know what Jay Rogers' title will be with the Saints. So more to come there. Robert Blanton was also hired for the staff. And then also on the offensive side, Kellen Moore throwing a bone to one of his mentors here, Scott Linehan. They work together with your team, with the Cowboys.
Cowboy coaching legend.
Cowboy coaching legend. So we got a new Saints Cowboy. We have a new Saints Cowboys coaching Immaculate Grid match there. So similar to what Kellen Moore did with Brandon Staley, But I don't know how you'd feel about this with a young coach. It feels like Schottenheimer might be doing the same thing in Dallas, where like you have a young coach, young head coach, so you're kind of surrounding them with these veteran head coaches, the guys that have been around for a while. Obviously, you have Linehan on offense, Brandon Staley. I know neither one was very successful as a head coach, but still, it's
The Cowboys did that, or the Linehan, or not Linehan. Schottenheimer did that with the defensive coordinator position
with Eberflus,
with Eberflus, but I think with the some of the coordinators and the like run game, pass game coordinator, defensive line coach, I think he's just like called up people and said, "Hey, who's somebody young that we should have interest in," and just kind of like branched out there, which is what you've seen with like their offensive coordinator hire as well.
Yeah, that's one thing with the Saints staff I'll mention too is they're going a lot to the college well. They're hiring a lot of guys from the college ranks, which I like because, and we'll talk about this maybe a little more here in a minute.
What was the Linehan job title?
I don't know. I think I don't know if he has an official title yet. The headline I saw just said Kellen Moore added add Scott Linehan to staff. So my guess is he's going to be like a senior advisor or
consultant sort of thing.
something like I don't know if you'll see him on the sidelines necessarily, but maybe he's just like helping Doug Nussmeier, who's the offensive coordinator. I don't know, but we'll see. But what I was going to say was I like the fact that the Saints on defense are hiring a lot of like college coaches. We talked about Bo Davis, the Scott Peter Sermon, who they hired as their linebackers coach, comes from Cal, and but that signals to me is that the Saints are probably going to invest in the draft defense. So it's going to be a lot of young players, and they already have some young players on defense too. The other thing I've noticed, and I think it was Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints, was talking about this, and I've heard other people talk about it. It looks like the Saints are going to have two secondary coaches. So one specifically for corners and one specifically for safeties, which I find interesting. I don't know how prevalent that is throughout the league, but
they're co-managers.
Yeah, I guess. And then I think
Did you ever see that segment of The Office where Jim and Michael are co-managers? One of them handles the big picture stuff, and the other one handles the day-to-day. Because it basically was because Michael wouldn't let Jim have his job, because Jim suggested Michael gets moved up and Jim gets to be the manager. But Michael wouldn't let him become the manager because he thought Jim was just trying to take his job. Anyway, I'm all off track.
Well, I mean, the Saints once upon a time under Sean Payton had co-defensive coordinators, Ryan Nielsen and I can't remember the guy's name. But basically they did that so that Ryan Nielsen wouldn't leave. Mm-hmm. Ryan Nielsen was very highly regarded. And he was, I think, offered a job to go to LSU to be their defensive coordinator, and Peyton basically made him co-defensive coordinator with, I apologize, I can't remember the name. I can look it up here in a minute, but yeah. So, but I don't know. And then on top of that, so they have the two secondary coaches, and then I think they have a different coach that they hired to be like the passing game coordinator on defense. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see. There's so many, the coaches have been so specialized now. I mean, when I was growing up, it was like you had defensive coordinator and then you had one coach for each position, and then that was it. Now you have running game coordinators and passing,
left tackle coordinator, left guard coordinator.
Right. So, the other thing I'll mention on the Saints real quick, well, two things. We had our first cap casualty, I guess you could call it, today.
It was not Derek Carr, unfortunately, for Paul.
No, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll get to that.
We'll get there. Do I need to pull up the airing of grievances?
You might have your finger on the button, buddy. We're going to pour one out, though, for Jamal Williams, who by all accounts, Jamal Williams is a good locker room guy. Like, people seem to get along with. If you've ever seen him interviewed, he seems like a nice enough guy. So his last season in Detroit, he led the league in touchdown runs, rushing touchdowns. The Saints signed him that offseason, and I think in his 2 years with the Saints, he scored 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown. His claim to fame will be, and this is a more claim to fame on Jameis Winston, is in the last game of the season, not in 24, but in 23, they handed the ball off to Jamal Williams so he could score a touchdown against the Falcons. That got Arthur Smith pissed. And what would be Arthur Smith's last game as Falcons head coach, and he
if he hadn't scored that touchdown, he would have scored 0 touchdowns that season.
Well, there you go. Well, that's why they did it, because that was when they interviewed Jameis after. He's like, "Look, Jamal's a good teammate. We wanted to get him a touchdown. Yada yada yada." So,
would you like to hear his list of his touchdowns by season?
Oh, please.
All right. So he came in the league in 2014 with Green Bay. So 4,
Right.
3,
Okay.
1,
Yep.
2,
Yep.
3,
Yep. I'm waiting.
17.
There it is.
17. And then the last 2 seasons with the Saints, 1, 1.
Oh, he did have one this year. Okay. All right.
He
I
did.
thought I didn't
So
think he had one.
he has more than half of his touchdowns were in that one season.
Wow. Good Lord.
From a rushing perspective. There's
That,
rushing only.
Yeah.
He also has 8 receiving touchdowns, 5 of which were in one season.
That sounds about right. Now, moving on to you mentioned Derek Carr. So when Kellen Moore was hired, the prevailing thought at the time was it was understood that Kellen Moore was going to be hired and Derek Carr wasn't his kind of guy, right? So the prevailing thought was that they were going to give him some rope, the Kellen Moore that is, to kind of find somebody to be his quarterback, but it wasn't going to be Derek Carr. Well, then the Saints do a press conference at the Combine, which, by the way, this press conference was neither televised nor recorded. It was reported on because there were Saints reporters there, obviously.
The press conference will not be televised.
Right. And at this conference, so backing up for a second, at Kellen Moore's introductory press conference, he was complimentary of Carr, but it was kind of in a way that's like he wasn't really committal. You know, it's like you're trying to read coach speak. And well, then at the press conference at the Combine, Mickey Loomis, who's a special kind of idiot, but that's another story.
In his infinite wisdom,
basically says, we think we can win with Derek Carr. Now, I don't know who we are, but that's, I
he didn't say how much they would win.
Fair enough.
You can win. I mean,
right.
He has one.
Shout out to my guy Ryan from Saints Block Party podcast. He said, "Yeah, you can win with Derek Carr. You just need the best offensive line, best receivers, best. Like you can win with them, but you just gotta,
put him in San Francisco. He'd be great.
Right.
Philadelphia.
But so basically, it sounds like now that I don't know what kind of voodoo that Loomis put on Kellen Moore, but it sounds like now Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback for the Saints in 2025. Which, if that's the case, so let me make sure I speak clearly here. If it's the case that that there was some kind of arrangement when they hired Moore in the pre-hire process where they had a discussion and Moore's like, I don't want him, but then he hire him, and then for however they did it to like convince him, then that looks bad on Kellen Moore, in my opinion.
It sucks.
Thanks, Frank. I knew I could count on Frank for support.
You can always count on Frank.
So now, that being said, what I will say, and I've seen folks on Twitter kind of rationalize it this way. The Saints have a lot of bad contracts right now. A lot. They're 40 with the new cap number. I think they're 47 million over the cap right. Well, now cutting Jamal Williams, it's like 46 or 45, whatever it is. So the idea is,
why don't you call up Elon Musk?
Right.
You could find some savings for you.
Yeah, he'll tell you to sell the team probably. So the thought process that I saw online was you could keep Derek Carr, work, and so now you have one bad contract and you kind of work around with all the others, or you get rid of Derek Carr and now you have a bunch of bad contracts that you have to work with. So basically it's like the math of, do you want to deal with one bad contract or do you want to deal with a bunch of bad contracts? So either way, the hope is by the time we get to this point next year, the Saints will have some money to spend. Now, all that to say, they still got to rework Derek Carr's contract if that means converting majority of his salary and to bonuses and pushing out, void years, all those cap gymnastics that the Saints do, they still got to do that. Carr has said he's not taking a pay cut. I did see somebody say today, well, I mean, maybe you can convince him, like, look, Derek, like, that's fine. You don't have to take a pay cut, but then your receivers are going to be like, Marquez Valdez-Scantling and set, like not that there's anything wrong with MVS. He played well last year, but it's like you got to pick your poison here. You can do this, but so we'll see what happens. I'm keeping a little bit of hope that like that press conference at the combine was more the Saints putting on a good face and saying like, yeah, man, we're real lucky to have Derek Carr, so that a team that maybe needs a quarterback but is not going to get, like, we'll talk about the Matthew Stafford situation here in a minute, or that maybe it's not going to get Sam Darnold or not get one of these other quarterbacks, gets, for lack of a better word, desperate and calls the Saints and say, hey, look, we know you said this about Derek Carr, but let's see if we can work something out. So I don't know, but that's my thoughts. But overall, just kind of disappointed that. But like I said, now the other thing I'll just say, just to put a bow on this, is if that is the plan, if Derek Carr is truly going to be the quarterback in 2025, then what the Saints need to do is build the team around him in such a way so that when you do move off of him, hopefully next year, the next quarterback can just slide in and you're good to go. So build your offensive line, get them some pass catchers, like obviously Olave and Shaheed have to stay healthy, which is a whole other discussion.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Let's get some playmakers on offense that can add some juice to the offense, and we'll go from there and see what we can do. And then the March for Arch, as it's called, will begin, I guess. So we'll see. How about how about them Cowboys?
We actually had a good day today, Paul.
Hey, there we go. There's a feather in your cap.
Yeah. Also, so the original report was that he was going to come in. So he's going to be, they had the franchise tag that they were planning to use if they couldn't get a deal done before by the deadline there, which I want to say that was like $24 million. There were reports. The initial report was that they were close to a deal that was averaging over $21 million. I think there had been estimates that he would come in at $23 million a year. They got it done for 4 years and $80 million. I've seen different numbers on the guaranteed money. I've seen 52 and I've seen 58. So it's a pretty good chunk of guaranteed money. But given the fact that he led the league in quarterback hits as a defensive from a defensive tackle perspective, his pass rush win rate was like 4th in the league among defensive tackles. I think they did a good job, and I think he's still on an upward trajectory. So I think they got a really good deal in signing him for you. You lock him up for 4 years, $80 million. Yeah. You're still, I think he's like the 14th highest paid defensive tackle right now. So I think the Cowboys actually did a good job of, coming to an agreement early. There wasn't a big contract holdout this year, which was good. They also they're bringing back CJ Goodwin, who's a kind of a special teams ace / defensive back. Brock Hoffman, who's kind of a flex offensive lineman. They played him a lot at guard last year, but he played really well. He kind of got a mean streak, so he kind of brings a little bit of nastiness to the offensive line. So I think that's a good move. And then they're bringing back Wanye Thomas, who is a safety who I honestly thought should have played more over guys like Donovan Wilson last year, because Donovan Wilson, who'd been really good under Dan Quinn, just sort of didn't seem to fit with Zimmer, and so his play was down last year. And I think we talked last week about potential either last week or the week before about potential cap casualties, and he was the guy that was listed as the Cowboys' potential cap cut. So they brought back some guys who are lesser known role players as well, and so just kind of like fleshing out some of the depth. They've still got some work to do in free agency. With there's a few of their guys that I think they'll try to bring back on decent, not huge deals.
Yeah.
But this is a good start, kind of getting off on the right foot, because we all know the Cowboys haven't exactly enamored the fan base the past few years with their moves in free agency. But getting started early, not burning any bridges with one of their own like they did almost tried to do with CD last year. That's a feather in our cap. It's a good start to the off season. So I'm feeling pretty good, Paul.
Well, speaking of CD, didn't they move some money on his contract too?
Yeah, they restructured. I don't know if they've restructured Dak yet. They restructured CD for sure, though. Yeah. And the Dak move is probably coming pretty soon as well.
I did see. I think I saw CD made a comment that like it's going to take more than just me or something like that.
Yeah, someone was like, "Why would you do this?" And he's like, you're helping the team out, basically.
Right.
And players do this all the time. It's not like this is
right. Yeah.
This isn't a new thing that only CD is doing. Like people do that. Players do this all the time. I think the Saints are going to be
doing this over the next couple of days, probably.
Yeah.
With some of their we'll see, but
yeah.
But I will say, real quick, going to Odighizuwa's deal. Across the board, I haven't seen anybody who say it's a bad deal, and I'm talking like not just Dallas folks. I'm talking like like NFL insiders.
Really, I'm really happy with the number that they came in at. And I heard someone say that if they are able to get the Parsons deal done, they'll also his number right now is $24 million, but if you get a deal done, you're able to bring that down probably to about 10 to 12 million instead. So you'd have another 10 to 12 million or 12 to 14 million in savings there as well.
And we should mention, as we're recording this, I believe tomorrow there's a retirement ceremony for Mr. Zach Martin. Going to happen. So
future Hall of Famer.
Salute to Mr. Martin there. The not Johnny Manziel pick, as we talked about last week.
As he's so lovingly known.
Yeah. Well, hey, he had a hell of a career, so good for him. It
was a hell of a something.
Yeah, it was. Was that all you had on the Cowboys?
I think that's it. We're done with coaching hires. I think we're ready. I think we can get on to the rest of the league.
So I'm gonna take that Cowboys, what you were talking about there, and take that to transition in here. So Rich Eisen, who I'm sure everybody knows who Rich Eisen is, he's all over NFL Network. He's got his own show weekdays on the Roku. I watch him on the Roku channel. I believe he's also on terrestrial radio as well. But the Monday after the Combine, and he's done this the last couple of years, he does a top 5 list of like things he heard at the Combine. Now, I should point out, Rich is not a journalist, say. Like, he's not like Adam Schefter or these folks who operate in, breaking news and all that stuff.
Right.
But and he prefaces this when he gives his top 5. But basically, the way he goes about this is things that he heard from multiple people, and like a top 5 list of like things I heard from multiple people coming at the Combine, because obviously he's there the whole week or majority of the week because he's calling all the action, as it were, with Daniel Jeremiah. So number 5 on his list was related to your Cowboys, and it said the Cowboys are all out on many of their own free agents, which is basically to say like they're probably going to be I think it was Steven or Jerry that said they were going to be selectively aggressive or whatever that means. So
when I saw this, I sent you a text message, or I saw this, I sent you a text message, and I said, I'm looking at our list of our own free agents.
Yeah.
I'm all out on a lot of them too. Would you like to hear some of the names that we have here?
Well, I know we talked about a cap casualty last week. I think it was Donovan Wilson. You just mentioned him.
But he's not going to be a
He's
free
not a,
agent though. He would
but he
be a
could
free agent
be, but he could be
soon.
released as a
Yes.
no.
Yeah. So we got Brandon Cooks,
Eesh.
Trey
Saints legend.
Lance,
Yeah, Australia.
Eric Kendricks,
Okay.
Cooper Rush. We kind of talked
Put a
about maybe.
Put a pin in that Eric Kendricks conversation. We'll come back to that in a
Okay.
second.
Chuma Edoga.
Excuse me?
Nick Vigil. Amani Oruwariye.
Okay.
Any of these names firing you up?
No.
There are. I will say there is a couple like Rico. There's Rico Dowdle. There's Jordan Lewis is a guy I'd really like to see him bring back as a slot. He's a slot corner who's played really well for the Cowboys. And you kind of need to you don't want to have slot corner also be another cornerback that you kind of need to replace this year.
How are they looking on? Go ahead. Sorry.
They've also got like a couple of like journeyman guys like Carl Lawson, who you might be able to get back on a cheap deal. DeMarcus Lawrence is a free agent, but he might be considering a retirement. So they've got like him. Chauncey Golston is one who I think may have played himself into more money than the Cowboys would probably be willing to spend on him. My guess is that Chauncey Golston ends up in Washington with Dan Quinn again.
Okay.
So that's my guess there. Since they have a lot of money to spend, it would just make sense there. But they signed a couple of the guys, like I mentioned, they got Osa back. They got C.J. Goodwin. They brought back Wanye Thomas, who I was really happy about. The Brock Hoffman signing. They're also bringing back Will Greer. I don't know what the deal is on that. He's just like a practice
quarterback.
Former Florida and West Virginia.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a few of these guys that I'm like, okay, I'm probably out on these guys too.
Yeah. How are the Cowboys looking from a cap perspective? I know they're not as bad as the Saints. Nobody is, but
and so it looks like right now, I can't tell if the CD adjustment is in here yet because his number is $15 million right now. So maybe it is actually. They're at, it says $18 million in cap space with
not bad.
Dak's cap number right now. Would you like to guess Dak's cap number right now?
$35 million.
Not even in the ballpark, buddy.
Okay.
90.
Jesus Christ.
So I think they're going to rework that number.
Man,
that makes Derek Carr's number look like.
Yeah. Good luck with all that. All right, moving back to Rich's list here. Speaking of quarterbacks, the next three are kind of quarterback related. Number 4 for him was Sam Darnold is the Vikings' plan at quarterback and on a multi-year contract. So the news came out today that the Vikings are not going to use the franchise tag on Darnold. Because the franchise tag for quarterbacks this year, I believe, starts with a 4. 40. Yeah, it's 40. Yeah. So they're probably going to try to do kind of like what the Cowboys did with Odighizuwa, which is let's see if we can get you on a longer term deal with a lower than that average.
I wonder if I wonder if there's like a situation where they put multi-years in with like ways to get out of it.
Void.
Yeah, there's some way that they can.
Well, because the other thing that I don't know if it was Rich or somebody else on the show brought up, like, how does that make J.J. McCarthy feel? Or how do you, like, what does that say about J.J. McCarthy? Like, because, you drafted J.J. McCarthy 11th overall, and now, to be fair, he's coming off an ACL injury. Like,
so you haven't, the thing is, like, it's not like he's done anything to hurt his stock other than, like, get injured. It's not like there's been any play that's, like, driven down his value.
But in my head, like, to your point, like if you're going to bring him back, let's say they do a 2-year deal worth $70 million. Just throw a number out there. And they go into training camp, and McCarthy just wins the job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he just comes out firing, the knee's fine, and all that. Then that's going to be now. I mean, it's not as bad as like Kirk Cousins in Atlanta making, but you get the same situation kind of. So um, it'll be interesting to see what I think Darnold's going to have some interest from other teams.
Oh, absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see that. So that basically, from a timeline perspective, the Vikings can still negotiate with him. Monday is the legal tampering window
Mm-hmm.
begins. So you'll start hearing Monday afternoon probably of like, oh, there's a deal in place between this team and this player, but nothing can be officially signed until Wednesday of next week, the 12th of March. I believe at noon, or is it 4 Eastern? I think it's 4 Eastern. It's the
Something like
league
that.
years, something like that. Anyway, so next week there's going to be a lot of moving around, but I'm really interested to see what happens with Darnold. Number 3 for Rich. This is a name we haven't really heard. We talked about this a little bit last week, but the Colts have talked about bringing in competition for Anthony Richardson, and the name that Rich is hearing is Daniel Jones, which makes sense if you think about it. Like Shane Steichen comes from Philadelphia, where they had Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is Jalen Hurts. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that.
How
But
much can he squat?
yeah, exactly. But I don't like. I know it's just weird. I mean, Daniel Jones had that 1 year in 22, which is really good, and then like kind of fell off. But I feel like Jones, maybe he has kind of a Justin Fields kind of year, like what Fields had with the Steelers last year.
Right.
Gets his mojo back a little bit, and then gives Richardson some competition. Yeah, that Colt situation's, it's weird, man. Almost, you know who the Colts could use is Derek Carr.
Yeah, there you go.
Call any Colts fans out there. Call us. We'll work something out. Another quarterback. This issue got resolved. So we talked about. I think we mentioned briefly Matthew Stafford going back to the Rams. They got that worked out. But from what Rich was hearing, the Giants and the Raiders, on the graphic here it says the Rams, but I think it's supposed to be the Raiders. Apparently, both of those teams were not only in on Stafford, but the Giants specifically had the numbers. So they hit the money number and they also hit the trade compensation. And it basically came down to Stafford was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to stay in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'd rather not go to the Northeast.
But I mean, I think the whole point of allowing Stafford's agent, Jimmy Sexton, to explore possibilities was to prove to the Rams, like, hey, look, Stafford can get this number on the market.
Right.
And I think that's what they did. But then I think Stafford ended up taking less anyway, just to come back. Because in terms of rosters, I mean, the Rams roster is far better than the Giants or the Raiders, I would think, at this
But
point.
yeah, that offensive line is still
Right.
still needs a lot of help.
But yeah, but the Giants, again, were apparently really close, at least in the numbers. And so now, and we'll talk maybe about them a little bit later, what they might do. And then the number one thing Rich heard was Browns have zero interest in trading Myles Garrett. Now, they obviously the Browns keep saying this publicly, but Richard, like, yeah, no, it's serious. Like, they're not. I still think from what I'm hearing, just every time I turn on TV and somebody gets asked about this, like whether it's Tom Pelissero or Ian Rappaport or whoever, somebody gets asked about it. Everybody's of the mindset that Garrett's getting moved at some point. It just
See, I feel like that. I feel like it. I'm a little less doubtful or a little dubious of it happening.
okay.
That's just my gut feeling.
So what I could see is if the Browns hit the draft right, but I mean, like, I'm talking, and like maybe they do, but I mean, like free agency, they can't really do anything because they're got that albatross of a Deshaun Watson contract hanging around their neck. But
They're still
I
not
don't
able
know.
to get out of that for another year, right? That's basically
Yeah,
the
there was talk of they could maybe recoup some money because he retore his Achilles, and like there's talk of insurance and all this stuff, but I don't know. But yeah, but to your point, I don't think they can get out of it for at least another year.
oh
Which
yeah. Cap number this year, 73 million.
okay,
I mean, say what you want about Dak's cap number, at least he plays.
at least he's
Is
playing.
it-
Yeah,
At least he's good. The post June 1st cut would make his cap number up to 118, which would be there'd be 118 million in dead
Jesus.
cap. So that's going to be a no.
Yes, that ain't happening. Yeah, their best bet is like he violates some loophole in the contract. Of like,
Well, he knows how to violate things, so
I mean, well, you said it. I mean, uh, Rich did have one other kind of nugget, which I guess I'll skip down to that here. He did hear. So we know that the NFL is going to have a game in Ireland this year, in Dublin. The Steelers are going to host it, and according to Rich, it sounds like it's going to be the Packers, Packers and Steelers in Dublin this year. So I had heard that from somewhere else too. So
yeah, we
now I
talked
don't know.
about that.
Yeah, don't know when it will be. There's like 7 international games I think we talked about. So there's like there's the Brazil and Dublin, the 3 in London.
Germany.
Germany's got one,
Did we get?
and
Is there a Spain one this year? Is that what it was?
Madrid. Yeah, there's one in Madrid, I believe. So all good stuff there. Some other notes here. There's going to be a new weapon for the Commanders. Looks like Debo Samuel traded to the Commanders for a 5th-round pick. By the way, that 5th-round pick, the Commanders got that 5th-round pick from the Saints in the Marshawn Lattimore trade.
I can't believe y'all attached the pick to that trade.
Well, they had to eat the contract. Like, Lattimore's contract wasn't like, but yeah, the Saints always do that crap. Where it's like, again, Mickey Loomis. That's all I got to say.
Impressive.
Yeah, right. Another bullseye. On the 49ers side, looks like Brandon Ayuk may be on the move. This probably is we're just going down the same path again with Ayuk. I mean, I know the 49ers are trying to clear space because they got to pay a Purdy penny, as it were, coming up.
Before we go to Ayuk, can I ask you your thoughts on the Debo deal?
Trade?
Yeah.
I mean, for the Commanders, it feels like a low risk type thing.
Because they have so much cap space. Right?
Correct. This is the kind of move you make when you have a very good rookie quarterback on a rookie quarterback deal. Now,
just got money to burn.
Correct. Now, if the Saints had done this, it would be stupidity, or they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it, but
they could try.
But yeah. So I think the Commanders this is a right move for them, and then plus you have the added aspect of Adam Peters, who's the GM with the Commanders, was in San Francisco when they drafted Debo, so there's that relationship. I think this is just kind of a right place, right time scenario. Do I think Debo is going to be like an all pro in Washington? No. But if you get something out of him and kind of at least takes some of the load off of Terry McLaurin, then
yeah, Debo's definitely one of the players. He's definitely on a downward trajectory. I think the Locked On Cowboys host posted side by side of his stats with Jalen Tolbert, the Cowboys receiver, and it was basically the same.
My
Um,
favorite tweets. My favorite type of tweet is
here's player A. Here's player
player
B.
A. Yeah, I love it's because it's always it's like okay, cool. Let's just which I get it. Look, I get it. I'm not arguing with it. It's just I just love those. All right, let's. I don't know.
The I will say the 49ers fan who's on the Chris Vernon show that I listen to all the time out of Memphis. He said that Debo basically doesn't break tackles anymore, which is kind of needs to be a big part of his game considering he's a yak guy. You're
Right,
basically just trying to get the ball to him on screens. If he can't break tackles, you're kind of in trouble.
and I know he's had. I believe I'm correct in saying he's had injury problems last
Yeah,
couple of years.
yeah,
And look, sometimes with guys of Debo's stature, a change of scenery is good. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not picking the Commanders to win the NFC East or anything like that. But I do think it's worth a shot. It's worth a chance for them. Uh,
yeah.
I don't know if it. I don't think it raises their ceiling exponentially, or I don't
No,
know how
it's not.
much.
It's not gonna be
You know, but
like a huge change.
no, but I do. I wonder if this is one of the first of many trades we see. I know Cooper Cup. Just to kind of roll this into the next topic, Cooper Cup still out there being shopped. Sean McVay didn't. I think he was on Pat McAfee show or he was somewhere this week saying the door isn't all the way closed on Cup coming back to the Rams. I saw your Cowboys may be in on the Cooper Cup sweepstakes.
Yeah, I'm
As
actually
well.
interested in that. That wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I could
I
get behind
mean,
that.
you got to replace Brandon Cooks, right? I mean,
Yeah. And
uh,
he's also like a big slot guy, and I
yeah,
mean, CD plays a lot in the slot, but I think technically more of his snaps last year, he plays a pretty even split between outside and slot. So if you have Cup, you can put him in the slot more and let uh, CD can work outside, or you can line them up on opposite sides or whatever.
um, what was I going to say? Another receiver that was being shopped and just got straight up released today. That's Devontae Adams. I do think somebody's going to obviously give Devontae a chance. I've heard Chargers. I've heard basically West Coast, Chargers, 49ers, those kind of teams. There's some Saints folks who are like, if maybe you can convince Carr to take less money so they could sign Devontae Adams. Carr and Adams played in college together. I wouldn't hate that idea. I mean, because you're not trading for him, right? You're not giving up. You just got to pay him, which for the Saints is hard. But
I mean, his connection with Carr is like the whole reason he went to Las Vegas in the first place,
right,
wasn't it?
right. And he was upset when Carr got released.
Mm-hmm.
There was also talk of like I know Max Crosby on his podcast or on a podcast he was on said he wants Rodgers to come to Vegas and bring Adams back with him. I don't know. I think Adams is going to have a market, but we'll see. Uh, let's see what happens. Franchise tags. You mentioned Odighizuwa was going to be franchise tagged, but Cowboys got a deal done. So only 2 franchise tags were applied at the end of the day. The deadline was today, as the day we're recording this. Bengals tagged T. Higgins at $26.2 million. I don't know. I mean,
This is the second year in a row he's been tagged, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's ecstatic about it. I know Joe Burrow's been out in
He is less than thrilled.
yeah, I know Joe Burrow's been out in the media pounding the table. Let's bring everybody back. Let's get everybody signed, which, okay, Joe, what,
Good luck with
how
that.
much money are you going to give up for this? Uh, the Chiefs tag, this was kind of a surprise. I mean, I understand why they did it, but it was a surprise. Trey Smith, their guard, $23.4 million, which the Bears, the Bears' response to that was to trade for Jonah Jackson from the Rams because the Bears were kind of the team everybody thought was going to go after Trey Smith. So when Trey Smith got tagged, Bears kind of pivoted to Jonah Jackson, who played for Ben Johnson back in Detroit. So there's that connection.
Fine, we'll just get a different offensive guard.
Right. I reached out to my guy Andy, the Bears fan, got his thoughts on the Jonah Jackson trade. He seemed okay with it. So it was, didn't hate it.
Jonah Jackson, not in the Jonas Brothers.
Not that I'm aware of, no. Or the Jackson 5. For that matter. And in news I know will disappoint you, Brandon. The Eagles.
What was that?
Huh?
What was that, Paul?
What? What?
What
That'll disappoint you?
Yes.
The Eagles are releasing Darius Slay and James Bradbury, two of their defensive backs.
That's
Yep.
That's a shame.
That's a shame. I know that would break your heart. Although apparently, at least with Darius Slay, there's a possibility he could come back. I saw like the way they're doing the transaction. I don't know, but yeah,
that's perverse.
So I knew that would break your heart, but hey, when you have Cooper DeJean and you have
the Great White Hope,
and Reed Blankenship, yeah, those guys are tearing it up for the Eagles. Let's move on to the Combine. NFL Draft Combine was this past week. Started on Monday, but the workouts and all that started on Thursday. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Couple winners and losers here. This is from CBS. Josh Edwards over at CBS kind of gave his thoughts. I think the big winner. Well, we'll talk about your guy here in a second, but I think the big winner is the safety from South Carolina, Nick Emanwari. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Listen, he left a lot of people speechless at the Combine for sure. 6'3", 220, 43-inch vertical, 11-foot 6-inch broad jump, and ran the 40 in a sub 4.4. We call that an alien, folks. Like that, the folks like that don't grow on trees. Like that's that he's going to be shooting up draft boards for sure. I believe he was probably going into the Combine. He was maybe a first-round pick. I would be almost shocked if he's not a first-round pick at this point.
Yeah, I would.
With those numbers, at least. I mean, you'd have to look at the tape to see. I think his tape's pretty good. I'm not a tape head like some of the folks out there, but I know we'll look at some mock drafts in a minute. I know the guys over at NFL Stock Exchange, Tampa Bay, Trevor Sikkema, and Connor Rogers, they did a mock draft on their show today, and I think Connor had Emanwari going to Miami at 13, like all the way up to, which for a safety that's high.
It's pretty rich.
It's pretty rich, but speaking of rich, how about your golden boy, Matthew Golden, setting the
pretty good.
The Combine on fire. Yeah,
he didn't break Xavier Worthy's record. So.
He did not, and neither did Isaiah Bond. But that was rough. By the way, just quick sidebar. If you're going to the Combine and you're booing people, you need to go touch grass. Like you need to go do something else. Like just
find a hobby, buddy.
Do something else. Like this is ridiculous. Like somebody said today, like, could you imagine going to a job interview and somebody in the back just starts booing you like in the middle of the job interview? And it's like what? I get it. Isaiah Bond kind of put his foot in his mouth, said he was going to run a 4.2 or whatever he said he was going to run, and then he ends up running like a 4.4. It's like 4.4 is not bad, folks. Like that's but anyway. But getting to Golden, I'm seeing Matthew Golden may be the first receiver off the board.
Yeah, there's been talk he's going to. the wide receiver class, there's not like a true number one guy. I think like
Right.
Tet was the closest that we had, but he's still like got flaws to his game. So like,
Well, and he didn't do any of the drills
no,
at
it kind of so I
combine.
think
So
yeah, so I think with wide receivers, it kind of depends on what teams need or what they're looking for. I
right.
think that's going to be um,
What
that's going
flavor
to
of
kind
ice
of
cream? Yeah. What flavor do
yeah,
you
that's going to
want?
kind of
Yeah.
determine who goes in what order at that position.
Yeah. What did I see? Golden mocked. I thought it was kind of interesting. Let me pull it up here real quick. This is from. Well, maybe Trevor didn't have him in the first round. I thought Trevor had him in the first round of his mock draft. Maybe not. Okay, well, we'll come back to it. Yeah. So going back to CBS article here. So those are two winners, Emanwari and Golden. As a loser, Isaiah Bond. I mean, listen, he did reach 24 miles an hour in the 40-yard dash, which that's
Pretty fast.
it's pretty good. Like, another winner here, the tight end position, Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. I did watch a good bit of the tight end workouts, and yeah, this guy was impressive. 6'5", 247, 4.63 40. That's not bad. Looked very smooth. I was really impressed with a lot of the tight ends running that the gauntlet drill, the one where they just run
Yeah,
straight down and catch the passes.
and
A
then
lot
like,
of
don't you have to like turn left and right
yep,
too?
yep. The idea is you keep as straight a line as you can. Mason Taylor from LSU is the best at this, like it was by far. Ran it straight down the 35-yard line. Yeah, you're making catches from each side, and then when you get to the end, you catch the last pass and you take it to the house. But yeah, Ferguson was impressive as well. The tight end that everybody believes is tight end. The two tight ends that everybody believes are going in the first round, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland.
Mm-hmm.
That neither one of them worked out, I don't believe. But yeah, there's pretty deep tight end class this year. As a loser, we have here Abdul Carter. So Carter ended up not working out. They found some kind of
Yeah,
stress.
this was less of
Yeah,
a workout thing and more of a
an
medical
medical thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's found some kind of stress reaction in his foot. Doesn't look like it's going to require surgery. I think he's going to do pro day stuff at Penn State's pro day, which is coming up later this month, I believe, or at least do a workout before the draft. I don't know. Listen, I don't think anybody should take him in the top 8. Honestly, that's me.
top 11 probably.
Another winner here, cornerback Maxwell Hairston. I believe you had an opinion on his 40 time.
Yeah, he was running like his hair's on fire.
Yeah. Again, you never miss.
Another bullseye.
4.28 40, 39 and a half vertical, 10 feet 9 inches broad jump. I mean, very impressive. Guy out of Kentucky. He may have played his way or worked out his way, I guess, into a first round pick, or at least a high day 2 pick. Another couple winners here. Landon Jackson from Arkansas. 6'6", 264. He's a defensive end, or he's an edge rusher, is how he's listed here. 4.68 40. Am I good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. You're good.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry about that. 4.68 40, 40 and a half inch vertical. That's impressive for a guy that big. So 10 foot, 9 inch broad jump. Very, very impressive. Another corner here, Darian Porter, Iowa State. 4.3 40, 6'2", at 6'2", 195. That's not bad. Iowa State had a pretty good week at the combine. between
Yeah.
him and their two receivers, Higgins and Noel. Uh,
I want to talk about Tez Johnson because that's the
yeah,
big.
you go ahead and
Uh,
talk. You take him. Yeah.
but so he he weighs 154 pounds, so he's one of the smallest receivers. But then he ran a 4.51, which
Yeah.
I mean the people who like I follow kind of said like if you look at the tape, his tape just doesn't look like 4.51, so he plays faster. But it's just going to be a
Right.
question of like, are you trusting your eyes and what you see on the tape? Or are you going to look at this and say, if there's like sort of a threshold that he needs to meet, is he not able to do that here? And this is kind of like just
Yeah.
something we should just like not worry or
Right.
just some like a threshold that he needs to meet so that we can just
And to speaking to that point, going back to Golden Boy for a second,
uh-huh.
Trevor and Connor on NFL Stock Exchange today were saying like his tape does not scream 4.2.
It doesn't.
Matthew Golden, like his routes are crisp. He's a good route runner. He's got all that. But like if you looked at him if you just looked at the tape and said who's faster, Isaiah Bond or Matthew Golden, you'd say Isaiah Bond.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so just to keep that in perspective there. So the biggest winner of the week by far, I know this is going to upset you. I apologize. Texas A&M's Shamar Stewart. He weighed in at 267. He recorded. This is from at MathBomb on Twitter, the guy that came up with the RAS relative athletic score. So 4.5940, a 40-inch vertical, 10-foot 11-inch broad. He basically his RAS score was a 10, was a perfect 10. And this is what is it? Out of all defensive ends since like 19, I forget how far this goes back, but I want to say he's like number 3 all time now. It's insane. Now, the flip side of this is the production. If you look at the production, I think he had like 1.5 sacks at A&M.
Yeah, it was the pressures. The pressures is what he was able to. He had those numbers, but because of the other guys on the defensive line.
Correct. Right. We should point out like Nick Scorton was on this defensive line. He's probably going to be a first or second round pick. Shamar Turner is another guy that's going to be in this mix, or at least in like maybe third, fourth round. So
it'll be a big weekend for Shamar's.
Yeah, right. So Shamar Stewart, the discussion's going to be production versus traits. Which are you going to take? What are you going to go with?
Mm-hmm.
I think I texted you when he worked out. I was like, well, here's the guy the Saints are going to draft or something like that. Like, so he has on this CBS article listed as a loser, Shedeur Sanders.
This is the one that I wouldn't have talked, because it seemed like his interviews have not gone well, and he basically is just acted like he doesn't care. I think the quote I saw was that multiple officials coming out of the interview felt like he didn't care about their team in talking to him. And so you've already got questions about kind of like playing ability, but if the off field stuff, locker room stuff isn't great, is that the guy that you want to trust to lead your team? So it's and we've talked about it. We've talked about it coming into this as like he's starting to slide. Like with the consensus early was that him and Cam were the top two. Now it's Cam Ward, and he's starting to. Will he even be a top 10 pick at this point? How far is he going to end up sliding?
I keep hearing. I heard Peter Schrager on Bill Simmons' podcast that I was listening to earlier before we started recording. It feels right now that Shedeur is closer to Jackson Dart than he is Cam Ward.
Yeah.
That is kind of to your point. So my thought is, so obviously with him sliding, Saints fans on Twitter start, well, if he's available at 9, do we think? And I could talk myself into it. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think we had talked early in the season, and if you had asked me like early in the season, like, would you want Shadur Sanders on the Saints? I'd say absolutely not. I just don't want. But that was when Dennis Allen was the coach.
Mm-hmm.
With Kellen Moore, I don't know. I'm open to a little more. I'm open to it a little more, and I get what you're saying, and I get what I've heard from coaches. But when I hear Shador talk, like in the media, like his podium sessions, he comes across well spoken. I mean, I've also you were talking about concerns with his play. I've heard people say like he's probably the most accurate passer in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be for something. I mean, that matters for something. He was out there at the combine. He wasn't working out, but he was at least out there supporting like his guys. Like I know he was with Jimmy Horn, who's one of the receivers that was working out. And so, look, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, though. We'll go through a mock draft here in a minute where there was an interesting outcome for him that I think would be. I don't know if it'd be ideal for him, but I think it would be. Not to use the word interesting too much, but it'd be an interesting outcome, I would say, for him. Another winner. So one more winner, one more loser, both running backs. Bashul is it Basil?
Basil Tootin.
Basil. Yeah, I believe that's it. Basil Tootin. He was scooting Tootin at
he was rootin', scooting, freshin' Tootin.
Yeah, at the combine. He 4.32 40, 40 and a half, 40.5 inch vertical, 10'10" broad. Yeah, I mean, look, 40 like that'll get you some special teams play for sure. I mean, that'll get you, and a loser, I hated to see this, but our guy Cam Scattaboo.
Yeah.
It looked like I know he did the broad jump and the long jump or the vertical jump.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looked like he either got injured. Yeah, he got injured. So what did he say? Yeah. He got injured, and so he couldn't he tweaked something. He couldn't do the rest of the 40. Your guy from Texas, Gunnar Helm, twisted his ankle doing the 40 and finished all the drills. And then he posted, I don't know if you saw the picture on Twitter of Gunnar Helm's, the ankle. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine, but I mean, like, he's
got a real cankle situation going on now.
Yeah, absolutely. But Scattaboo, yeah, I don't know. I hope everything's all right with him. I was looking forward to seeing him work out, see what his numbers were. Any other combine? I did have Mel Kiper's risers, so he didn't do winners and losers. He just did kind of risers.
It hits kind of a lot of the same notes, right? Like,
same notes. I did want to bring up
the Mel Bimbu. The Mimbu is on the list.
Armand Minbu. Yeah.
Yes. He's a Mel
Bimbu. Yeah. I did want to bring up. I brought up this quarterback last week. I just want to mention him again. Tyler Shuck from Louisville.
Yeah, we talked about him last week.
Yeah, Mel mentions him as kind of a riser coming out of the combine. I missed the second group of quarterbacks that were throwing on Saturday, but I heard like Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe, Riley Leonard. They all looked pretty good from what I heard. So. Be interesting to see how that goes forward. And that's the thing. I'm wondering if I think this draft, when we look back on it in a couple of years, we're going to say, yeah, there weren't a lot of Hall of Famers or perennial All Pros, but there were a lot of
maybe you found a 10-year starter or a guy, a perennial backup that you.
Yeah, you didn't find Tom Brady, but maybe you found like Elvis Gerbach or Dave Krieg or something like that. Steve Bono. I can name old quarterbacks for all day. yeah, I would definitely recommend to check out Mel's risers. Trying to think if there's any other guys I wanted to mention here. No. No. Well, I do. Let me mention one more UT guy for you, Jade Barron,
Yep.
who tested very well. Looks like he might be. He may have moved up. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes like top 15. Honestly, if he's
Mhm.
like the first non Travis Hunter corner off the board.
Right. First non Heisman winner.
Yeah, first non Heisman winner. All right. So with that, let's kind of transition into our next segment here. We're going to watch the Watchers, Brandon.
I'm watching the Watchers, Derek. Uh-oh.
All right. So I've been mentioning Trevor and Connor on the NFL Stock Exchange there. So they did a joint mock draft. Basically, they kind of do one takes evens, one takes odds, and they go through and they do the mock draft that way. But Trevor Sikkema did his own mock draft. He released it Monday morning. So this past Monday was like mock draft palooza because it's after the combine. Trevor in his mock draft, he has Abdul Carter going 1, which is not surprising. For the Saints, he has them taking Jalen Walker from Georgia. Jalen Walker did not work out at the combine. For your Cowboys, let me see how you feel about Jahad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama, who had a very good, impressive combine.
This is another like off-ball linebacker is another position I'm kind of wary of drafting really high just because of the physical toll it takes.
Right.
So more of a I hope we could trade back to get something like that. I will say I heard recently like that the two guys that the Cowboys had like been connected to a lot. I think it was Dane Brugler said this, but the two guys that they'd been connected to quite a bit was the McMillan out of the wide receiver out of Arizona. And then one of the defensive linemen out of Georgia. Oh,
Mykal Williams.
Yeah, Mykal Williams was the other one. So from the what it's worth department.
Correct. Now, when Trevor and Connor were doing their mock draft together, I think in that mock draft they also had Jahad Campbell. Yeah, they also had the Cowboys going Jahad Campbell. Trevor pointed out that the linebacker depth for the Cowboys is an issue.
It is.
So that's kind of why that was his thinking, at least, of why he went. And again, Campbell had a very impressive combine. I think he's kind of the Jack Campbell, same last name. If you remember Jack Campbell 2 years ago, coming out of Iowa, got drafted very high as a linebacker by Detroit. I think he was second round though. I don't think he was first round. But anyway, but yeah, that's kind of So in Trevor's write up here, he talks about Cowboys desperately, need a true off ball playmaker with Overshawn coming back from an injury. Eric Kendricks is hitting free agency.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, but to your point, if you can trade back, which I mean, it depends on how the board falls,
right.
Honestly. So, like for me, going back to the Saints real quick, at 9, if we get to 9 and Will Campbell, who Trevor has Will Campbell going to the Bears at 10, but let's say if we get to 9 and Will Campbell's on the board, and the Dolphins, who need offensive line, because as we talked about, Teron Armstead's retiring, most likely, or it looks like he is. If the Dolphins call from 13 to try to move up to 9, and they're going to throw in, maybe a 4th and a 5th, or some more picks, that's going to be tempting for the Saints, especially if like Tyler Warren's still on the board, let's say, and like Tyler Warren's a guy that's been connected to the Saints, which I kind of feel the same way about tight end as you do about off-ball linebacker. Like, Tyler Warren may end up being great, but I don't really feel like spending the 9th overall pick on him, especially in a tight end.
we get told a lot of times that guys at the tight end position are going to be like very special or they're generational talents, and then they turn out to be like Kyle Pitts, and it's just
Yep.
like, what?
Yep.
We spent a top 10 pick on this, and so like, what's the? I feel like you can do perfectly fine with just getting a guy in the day 2.
By the way, I don't know what made you think of this. A couple weeks ago when we had the draft with the boys from this podcast is making me thirsty, I made a quip to Chris about Kyle Brady. Remember, I made like a no. I don't know what I decided to look Kyle Brady up on Pro Football Reference. Kyle Brady played like 10 years in the league, like, so my apologies to Kyle Brady. I really thought he was like a one and done or two and done.
Well, he mentioned Anthony Becht, and I didn't get to squeeze in the fact that Anthony Becht's son is now starting in college football.
Well, Anthony Becht is coaching the UFL, isn't he? Head coach
I think that's right.
One of the UFL teams. One thing in Trevor's mock draft I did want to point out, he has Mason Graham falling to 11 and the 49ers, which if we get to 9 and Mason Graham's on the board and the Saints don't draft him, I'm going to be a mite pissed.
Just a bit.
Just a little bit. Now, if they're drafting like, no, I mean like, I think the Saints run the card up, man, for mate, right?
Well, this draft also has Luther Burden going to the Eagles, so let's just throw it in the trash.
Yeah, not great for you boys here.
I'm starting to kind of like feel like maybe we should draft Matthew Golden at 12.
The Cowboys, yeah. I mean,
why not?
Again,
you need some more speed.
You have to replace Brandon Cooks, right?
That's right. Where are we going to replace that 600 yards of receiving?
Oh boy.
What did he have this year? That's a good question. He didn't even spell Brandon right. I think that's his problem. Ooh.
Yeah, I knew that would get you.
He had 260 yards receiving this year. Rough season.
Yeah, from a tech. So in this draft, Trevor has Matthew Golden ending up with Pittsburgh. Speaking of Pittsburgh, so when Trevor and Connor did their mock draft on their show, they had Shador going to Pittsburgh. So to kind of go back to the Shador conversation, I think Pittsburgh's a pretty good landing spot for Shador Sanders.
Yeah,
if we're being honest, like that. Like I was thinking, like
you've got a good infrastructure there, so that he's not going to be able to single-handedly sabotage it, right? If it is a problem, which I'm not saying it is, but there's at least structure there,
and there wouldn't be pressure to start right away. They're probably going to bring back Fields. It sounds like. Now I don't know. I don't know how Deion's going to feel about his son being coached by Arthur Smith, but I mean, Tomlin's top 5 coach in the league, right? I mean, so that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Shador on the Steelers would be interesting. So the draft that I saw, I was trying to pull it up. Lance Zierlein at NFL.com. You looked this one up?
Yes.
Okay. So in this one, he has the Browns at 2, taking Travis Hunter. So Titans take Abdul Carter, Browns take Travis Hunter. Cam Ward goes to the Giants, so you get to play Cam Ward twice a year as a Cowboys fan. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, right. But then he has, I should point out, Lance Zierlein also has the Saints drafting Shamar Stewart, which is probably
he also has the Cowboys selecting Ashton Genty. So
right. So this is all with a grain of salt, obviously. But what caught my eye is he had the Browns trading back into the first round at pick 29 with the Commanders to get Shador. So imagine Shador and Travis Hunter both on the Browns. Like that. Again, I don't think that's a bad. You have Stefanski there, 2-time coach of the year. I know they just replaced the offensive coordinator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they hire? Yeah. So, well, I mean, Stefanski's going to be calling the plays, but
Right.
but that's so
Wasn't Dorsey the offensive coordinator there?
he was, and
Let
he
go.
got let go, and now where did he end up?
He's in
Is he with the
Dallas.
Cowboys? He's in
Yeah, he's with
Dallas,
the
right?
Cowboys. He's the quarterbacks coach,
Passing game
passing
coordinator, or
game
something.
coordinator, something like that.
Yeah. So, but I think so. Again, to kind of circle this back around to Shador's conversation, I think both of those situations would be good for him, either on Pittsburgh or if you go to Cleveland and you end up with Travis Hunter. So now at least you have that connectivity of, you're playing with your guy from college, and I think the Browns. I mean, look, it'll be interesting. It'll definitely. I'm definitely curious to see if the slide starts for Shador. One, how far does he go? And two, does Jackson Dart, who again had a pretty good combine, but his questions are all on tape. Like if you look at his
Right.
tape, I mean, first of all, he's an Ole Miss quarterback. We know what comes with that. And then if you look at the tape, it can be ups and peaks and valleys, which I guess it can be for everybody. But
Right.
um, the other thing I'll mention, just from a Saints perspective, again on NFL Stock Exchange, the guys had them taking Tyler Warren in the first round and Darius Alexander, who's a defensive tackle from Toledo, who had a really good week at the Senior Bowl, tested really well at the combine, so his stock's kind of coming up. For your Cowboys in the second round, had Trey Harris. You know anything about Trey Harris?
No, I looked him up and was a little uninspired.
So he's from Ole Miss. He's a wide receiver. We talked about Jackson Dart a second ago. Trevor on the show, it was either Trevor or Connor, used the comparison. Remember, you know how we look back now at the A&M team that had Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans, and we're like, man, Mike Evans made Johnny.
Mike Evans was the one who made it.
Correct.
Let me before we go any further, let me say that I thought that in real time. I said
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think Johnny Manziel's all that great. I think Mike Evans just makes him look really good.
It has been noted for the record, but their point was, could we be doing the same thing a couple of years from now with Trey Harris and Jackson Dart on Ole Miss, where it's like, oh, actually, it was Trey Harris that was making Jackson Dart look good. So I say that to kind of give you set you at
Make me
ease,
feel a little better.
make you
about
feel a
it.
little better.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Okay.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I'll take it.
Maybe look. Let me ask you this. Riddle me this. If Luther Burden falls out of the first round into the second, would you be okay with the Cowboys trying to trade up to get him in the second?
Oh, I would. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, depending on the cost, but like,
Right.
absolutely. It's starting to look
spot-
like that might be a possibility too. Just
Well,
from what I've seen.
a good landing spot I saw for Luther Burden, by the way, was the Rams. If the Rams do move on from Cup,
Mhm.
like Luther Burden in that offense could be a thing too. So we'll see. The receiver with this draft, I guess, big picture here. So obviously we talked about the quarterbacks. There's Cam Ward and everybody else. Running back is very deep. Tight end is very deep. Receiver feels like, it could be one of a couple of guys that's receiver one. Could be Matthew Golden, Ted McMillan. Burden was getting a lot of pull early in the season, but now it's kind of like
That's falling off pretty fast.
his stock's fallen off. By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, Burden's quarterback Brady Cook, he threw pretty well at the combine as well. I did see a little bit of him throwing.
Mm-hmm.
He looked pretty good. Somebody tweeted, so Brady Cook was like one of the only quarterbacks that did all the running and broad jumps and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody tweeted his like broad jump and vertical jump number, and then they were like, okay, all we need now is a 4.6 40, and we can convert him to tight end or something like that. But like I say, he threw the ball relatively well. So we'll see what happens with that. Any other thoughts on the combine?
No, I
before
think
we
we're
go on?
ready. It was a little windy today in the city where we live.
It was absolutely, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I don't know about you, Paul, but I felt a draft.
I did too.
I feel a draft. Let's change tables.
Get out of here. We have a booth.
Can always count on the Costanzas. So we're gonna do a draft, but like we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, before we could do a draft to determine who gets to select first in the draft, we're gonna play a little game of Immaculate Grid.
That's right.
For those playing at home, we are doing today's Immaculate Grid. It's number 594. That's 594. And let me just read off the rows and columns here. So the rows, we have the Arizona Cardinals, the Las Vegas Raiders. That actually also includes obviously the LA Raiders and all their
Oakland
different,
Raiders.
all those different incarnations. And then finally, the last row, the New Orleans Saints. And then for the columns, we have the New York Football Giants, the Denver Broncos, and then finally the category of 1,000 yards rushing in a season. So, should point out that 1,000 yards rushing in a season has to be for one of the teams that we listed in the rows. So, 1,000 yards rushing for the Cardinals, for the Raiders, for the Saints. So, I believe I went first last week in selecting a square. Again, just for those playing at home, Brandon and I, one of us will pick a square. We pick a player. The other person picks a player. Whoever's score is lower, that person
square.
wins the square. We do this for all 9 squares. And then if there's a tie, we just go by overall score. So we're doing golf scoring. Low score wins. Brandon, I believe you get to go first this week because I went first last week. So I will defer to you.
All right, I'm gonna go. We're gonna go bottom left corner, Saints Giants.
All right, hit me.
One of your favorites. We're gonna go Ray Armstrong.
Ooh, yeah. That's going to be a good one.
0.1%.
0.1%. Okay. Yeah, he was definitely on my list. I'm going to go with someone I've been using a lot lately, and that's B.W. Webb.
Ooh, that's a good one.
B.W. Webb.
Let me be the.
By the way, there's a player named B.W. Cheeks. We'll explore that later, maybe. I don't know. B.W. Webb, 0.1%.
Oh, tie.
So there's a tie. Okay, so that's all right. Yeah. So I will stay on the Saints row, not surprisingly. Let's go to 1,000 yards rushing in a season, and I'm going to go with, in honor of the draft, the only time in Saints history that they have made the first overall pick in the draft. They selected from South Carolina, I believe, a gentleman by the name of George Rogers. And that is 4%.
Really? 4?
By the way, you cannot use Alvin Kamara for this square.
No, you cannot.
So
there's one guy, which I think he's probably going to be more than 4 points. All right, I'm going to take. Let's go with Mark Ingram.
One of my favorites.
Whoa, 45%.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Just for.
Jeez.
So I win that one, I guess.
Yeah. It was a close one.
That's probably the biggest difference we've had since we've been doing this, right?
Yeah, well, usually but I feel like you've used Ingram for the square before, and it's been like fairly low.
Yeah,
so that's why I went with it.
Yeah. So here's some other players we could have used. Deuce McAllister is a big one.
Okay, that was the Ricky Williams.
Ricky Williams, Dalton Hilliard, who's
no relation to Ike.
No relation to Ike. George Rogers, by the way, that is the all-time record for a season. George Rogers, 1,674 yards in his, I believe it was his rookie season. He did that. We said Mark Ingram, George Rogers, Dalton Hilliard, Chuck Muncie.
That funky
1970
Muncie.
Funky Muncie. Yeah, we said the other guy, Reuben Mays in 1986. He had 1,300 yards. So, the another guy I wish I could use, but I can, is Mario Bates. Mario Bates is always a good. All right, buddy, you're up.
All right. I'm going to go up to top left, Arizona, New York.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Entrell Roll. 3%.
All right.
Not Samari. Entrell.
No, not sushi. Okay. So obviously we could. I'm not going to use this guy, but Kurt Warner comes to mind. I'm guessing that would be a pretty high score. That'd be a Mark Ingram like score there. Really was surprising. I'm going to go. I will use a quarterback, but I'm going to go with Kent Graham. 2%.
No relation to Otto.
No relation to Otto. 2% for Mr. Kent Graham.
All right, I'm down. I'm down now, Paul. I'm in trouble.
That's you got time. We got 6 squares left? Let's see. Should we finish off?
Finish off the Giants column.
Oh yeah, let's finish off the Giants column. Okay, so let me double check this one before I'll go Giants Raiders, but I got to double check here. And I'm going to use someone you just used. I'm going to use Ray Armstrong.
Okay.
Ray is kind of a cheat code.
He is.
So for Giants Raiders, I'm going to Ray Armstrong 0.1%.
Okay, I don't think this guy's going to score that, but I'm going to go with Cowboy legend.
McLean?
Nope.
Oh.
Jalen Smith. 0.1%.
Oh, hey, we got a tie. All right. There we go. There's a feather in your cap.
There's a feather in my cap.
All right. The point is to you, sir.
All right, I'm going to go with another Cowboy legend here on the Raiders. I'm going to go with Darren McFadden.
What is this? Raiders Broncos?
No, Raiders 1,000-yard rusher.
Oh, Raiders 1,000. Okay.
11%.
For Mr. McFadden. Gotta check something here. Okay. All right. Raiders 1,000-yard rusher. I'm going to go with Napoleon, not Dynamite, but Napoleon Kaufman. 3%. What was McFadden?
Don't know if I've ever even heard of that guy.
Napoleon Kaufman? You ever heard of Napoleon Kaufman?
Don't remember him. I know
he was.
I know his brother Napoleon Bonaparte, but
yeah, Napoleon Dynamite. Let's see, Napoleon Kaufman. He was another guy I wanted the Saints to draft back in the day. By the way, you could also use Napoleon Kaufman as a one team only for the Raiders. Mm-hmm. He only Napoleon
Pro
Kaufman.
Bowl?
No Pro Bowls. So Napoleon Kaufman played 6 years in the league. In 1997, he had 1,200 yards. The most yards he had in any other season was 921. So, and he didn't reach 5,000. He had 4,792 for his career. So you can't use him for 5,000 either.
Just needed a couple hundred more yards.
Yeah. Did I win that one? I won that score?
Yes. Yep. You're
Okay.
up 3-0.
All right. Let's go. I guess let's finish out 1,000 yards. Let's go Arizona Cardinals. I could use one of your family members here, I believe.
Yep.
That's probably going to be quite the number, if I had to guess. I'm going to go with. I can't use Mario Bates here either, but he did play for the Cardinals, but he didn't. I'm going to go with an honor of. I wonder if our guy Chris over at this podcast Making Me Thirsty. I wonder if he remembers this guy, Adrian Morrell, who was also a Jets running back in the day. 1% on Mr. Morrell there.
See, that was the guy I was going to use. Let's see.
If I win this one, I win probably a clinch, right?
Yeah, you'll clinch. All right, I'll just go with my boy, Garrison Hurst.
Okay, what we got?
2%.
Okay, so I win that one?
Yep.
All right, so now we just got the Broncos
column.
We saved the Broncos for last, apparently.
Yes.
All right, so is it your turn? Yeah.
I think so. All right, let's just get this out of the way. Let's just go Broncos Saints.
All right.
And is it spelled? Never remember how to spell this guy's name. Okay.
Are you going with a Longhorn legend?
I'm not going with a Longhorn legend.
Okay.
I'm going with Bradley Roby, 1%.
Bradley Roby. Okay. I could use former patron saint Tracy Porter, but I'm not going to use him. The Longhorn legend I was referring to, I'm not using him either, was
Lil Jordan Humphrey.
Lil Jordan. I'm going to go with Mike Bell. This is a couple Mike Bells. Got to make sure I can pick the right one. Mike Bell was part of the Super Bowl team with the Saints. He also played for the Broncos. 0.5%.
That's a shame.
Mike Bell played for 4 teams. Just for the folks at home, no 1,000-yard seasons. He only had 1,400 yards total in his career. No Pro Bowls. He also played for your favorite, the Eagles, and he also played for the Browns. All right, let's go to Cardinals, Broncos. Sorry, Broncos, Cardinals. You mentioned him earlier, so I'm gonna use him here. Garrison Hurst, and that's 1% for Broncos Cardinals.
I'm gonna go.
That's surprising. I thought it would be much more than that.
Let's see. I'm going to go with a. Should I go?
By the way, shout out to Donnie, the Broncos fan, who's.
I got 2 guys who work for either square here. I'm just trying to figure out which way I want to use. I want to use. Okay. We're in Raiders Broncos, right?
No, we're in Broncos.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to use DRC.
Yes.
2%.
Good.
All right, last square.
Last one, you get to go first, I believe.
Stevie B. 1%.
Cowboy legend, right?
Yep.
Steve Berlin. You know what? For this one, I will be using Saints legend Tracy Porter. Make sure I pick the right Tracy Porter.
I hate it when that happens. I've done that where I've selected the wrong player.
0.2% for Tracy Porter.
Oh man, the Saints,
So
the 1,000 yards. I feel like last week you also got me on the 1,000-yard one or the 3,000 yards passing one.
Yeah.
I finished with
Which
65, most of which was
Oh.
Mr. Ingram here.
I finished with 11. What number was that we played last week? Do you remember?
I don't. It's probably seven less than
It was
this one.
5. It was 589, I think, because it was that I used. Isn't that the one I used Larry Centers for 5,000 yard receiving for the Patriots, or was that one we did?
That's not the one we played online though.
Okay. Oh no! It was. I see. It was the 587. It was.
Yeah.
I used Kyle Allen for the Panthers for 3,000 yards passing. I think that's what.
Well, that was
As you
that. And I got my Ed Reed, or I got Jason Babin and Shane Graham spots mixed up.
Right.
Remember, I tried because I wanted to use one for one, and then I got it. I guess I got confused. All right, Paul. You want to lead into what we're drafting?
Yeah, so let's. So in honor of the Academy Awards from this past Sunday, we thought we'd do a draft of Best Picture winners. So we're gonna have 5 categories, right? 5, yeah, 5 categories. So we're going to be selecting Best Picture winners, and we'll put them in the following categories: the 1980s, the 1990s, the 2000s, the 2010s and beyond. So basically 2010 to current day. And then finally wild card, which can be anything. I will shout out the Big Picture podcast that the Ringer hosts, or it's on the Ringer network of podcasts. They did a similar draft recently, so I encourage folks to check that out. And if you're into movies, they do a lot of movie drafts. That's what I tend to listen to if I just need something to listen to while I'm working or whatnot. Okay, so for the first pick here, so we're gonna do snake format. So I'll go first, then Brandon will be second. Let's see. First pick here. I think I'm gonna go. I mean, we've got 98 to choose from here. That's quite a list here. I'm gonna go 2000s, and I'm gonna go No Country for Old Men.
That's a good one. That was on my list
from 2007, to be exact. There. Yeah, this is Coen Brothers. I went on that Coen Brothers kick a couple weeks ago, watching some of their films. I didn't revisit this one. I need to go back and revisit this one. It won for Best Picture. Javier Bardem also won for supporting actor.
Yeah. I don't think
Anton Chigurh.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, folks, please go out of your way to check it out. It's definitely one to check out for sure. It's based on a book by Cormac McCarthy. So
all right,
definitely check that one out. Go ahead, Brent, with your first pick.
I've got 2 back-to-back here, so I'm going to open with my 2010s plus.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with last year's Best Picture. I'm going to go with Oppenheimer, which I really enjoyed. Love Christopher Nolan. This was a great movie. So
it was on my radar for sure. Yeah.
I actually made the trip out to the theater to go see it because and it was worth it. Like that was one I wanted to experience in a theater. Glad I did too.
Did I read that they're re-releasing it in theaters on a limited?
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Oppenheimer. I thought I saw something that they were gonna. You know what? Let me check IMDb. Well, you go ahead with your next pick while I'm checking this.
Okay, so I'm going to take another picture from a very big name director. I'm going to go into the 2000s here. 2006, I'm going to take The Departed.
Ah, that was definitely going to be on my radar. Yep.
Now, you took No Country for Old Men, so I figure I'd do you one back there.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. No, that's fair play for sure. Okay, I'm looking up this Oppenheimer thing. So it says Oppenheimer is returning to theaters with a catch. Yada yada yada. The movie will only be playing in IMAX locations with screenings beginning on February 28th. So apparently this is going on right now. That was February 28th was this past Friday as we're recording this. Tickets are currently up for pre-order on the IMAX website. Okay. So I don't know. Check it. Yeah, if you can. I did not see it in theaters. I had to wait till it came on. I forget what streaming service. Maybe in Peacock. When I finally watched it, but definitely good. So yeah, so you got Oppenheimer and The Departed. That's your two.
Yeah, pretty good. Couple of first round talents, I think.
Yeah. By the way, Departed. That was the first win for Mr. Scorsese for Best Director. Yeah. Wonderful movie.
Yeah.
The first time I ever heard the song "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd was in The Departed.
Every time I think of cranberry juice, there's a scene where
I know
Leo sits down at the bar. My girlfriend drinks cranberry juice and she's got on her period. What are you on your period? Leo just slams that into the glass into his face.
It's a natural diuretic.
Yeah.
It's great. That's another one I need to revisit. Damon's great. Damon's great in that.
Wahlberg's great.
Vera Farmiga is in that. She plays the love interest of, I guess of both Leo and Damon. She would go on a couple of years later. She would play Norman Bates's mother in Bates Motel, the series that was on A&E. That's where I first knew her. And when I went back and watched Departed, I was like, oh, that's Norman Bates's mother. Okay, so you got 2000s and 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a look here. Well, I think I'm going to go 2010s and beyond myself. Ooh, two good choices. I'm trying to pick between two good ones here. I think I'll go with Parasite from a 2010s.
I have not seen that.
It's a wonderful film from 2019. This is who's the director here? This is Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah.
Bong Joon-ho. Yes.
Yeah.
He actually has a new movie coming out.
It's the Mickey 17
yeah,
with Robert Pattinson.
Coming out this week, this Friday, I believe. But yeah, Parasite is a wonderful movie. It's actually, according to IMDb, it's on Hulu right now. So if you want to check it out, it is all in subtitles. So just be.
Is this a Neon? Was this done by Neon?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, that's so the company I work for, they own most of Neon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so I now have 2010s and I have a 2000s. So let me back up a little bit.
Back it up. Beep, beep, beep. Tractor Story.
Tractor Story.
Beep, beep, beep.
So let's see. Should I go? Well, all right. If I'm going to go, this is more of a sentimental pick. I'm going to go 90s. I'm going to go Forrest Gump.
Okay.
I know it's probably not the best picture of the 90s. There's a couple of the movies that folks would probably put in that category, but I saw it I saw it at the right age, and
I've seen this movie so many times now. It's one of those movies just flip through the channels on a Sunday and you're going to find it on
Yep.
TBS.
Yeah, this movie, I remember this is one of the first movies that, so my parents didn't go to the movies a lot, actually at all. We just didn't. But my mom would, we would go to Blockbuster once a week or whatever and rent. And I remember renting Forrest Gump, coming home and watching it. I remember my mom sobbing watching this movie. And then later, and I watched it and I got the gist of it, but then like later in life, when I got into college, I started watching this and you get older. And when you see it through older person's eyes, it definitely means something different to you. But yeah, listen, I think it's one of Hank's finest performances. Robin Wright, who I was shocked to realize that that's the same woman that's in House of Cards on Netflix. If you've seen House of Cards, and she and Jenny, the character of Jenny, I will say, is not great. like in 2025, can we say that? Can we say that Jenny Gump was? Yeah, she was.
Yeah, not the greatest.
Yeah, but and of course I think this is the first acting job for Haley Joel Osment as Little Forrest.
Oh, really?
I want to say it was one of his first. It was definitely before Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, yeah.
But yeah. So is that 2 for me? Yeah, that's
Parasite, yes, because you're
Parasite
and Forrest Gump.
Yeah. So like I said, that I definitely want to. So it's 2 to you.
All right, I'm going to go into the 80s. I feel like it's slim pickings of movies that I've either seen or heard of. So I'm just going to go ahead and go straight for the one that you watched last week, I believe. I'm going to take Rain Man.
Yep. Recently, yeah. Rain
yeah.
Man. Yeah, I do have a backup for the 80s at least. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's there's like a couple of the other one I debated was Amadeus, one with Seinfeld connection there.
Yeah.
Well, it gets mentioned in an episode. Did you know
it does?
Mozart died before he finished his Requiem? Yeah, it was in Amadeus.
I was trying to think. I was like, F. Murray Abraham was not in Seinfeld.
He was not.
He was in Curb. He was in Curb Your Enthusiasm, but not in Seinfeld. What about Ordinary People? You never checked out Ordinary People? That's a laugh riot.
I did not check out Ordinary People.
When I say laugh riot, I mean not at all. Like
it's
very
dark, deep.
It's dark. It's I'll put it to you this way: the Rewatchables, which is another podcast The Ringer hosts, they did a theme month. This is several years ago, called "Effed Up Family February." And Ordinary People was part of that theme.
Okay.
So that'll tell you what you need to know.
Gotcha.
So, but anyway, one more pick for you.
Yeah, so I've got my 2000. I need my 90s and my wild card here. So I've got one pick to do that. I'm going to go into the 90s. There's 2 that I really like. Oh man, let me save that. All right. I'm going to go with a movie that I saw in theaters in 5th grade. My mom had to tried to cover my eyes for one scene. We're going to go with Titanic.
Oh, all right.
I was really big into like disasters and stuff in there, and that at that age, like the Hindenburg, the Titanic, the Chicago Inferno, Chernobyl, all those things. And so Titanic came out at the perfect age for me. So I was like, oh, I'm going to see this.
You sound like a great hang.
Yeah. Hey, you want to hear about the time the dirigible blew up?
There's a Seinfeld connection to Titanic. George is like, when he skips work, and Jerry's like, "What'd you do the rest of the day?" He goes, "I went and saw Titanic."
Yeah, that's right.
That old lady, she's just a liar, right? and a bit of a tramp, if you ask me.
Right.
Yeah, that That's like one of the. I think that's season 9.
Yeah, that's it because
Has to be.
Titanic came
Yeah.
out in '97, so that was at the later end
That's
of the Seinfeld run. All right, Paul, you've got your last 2 picks here. You need an
I
80s
will.
pick and a wild card.
I will say neither of us took the titular reference to a Seinfeld episode, "The English Patient."
We have
Although
not. It's still
we
on the
still we still have
board.
wild card, but I mean, yeah, we mentioned it in our episode with the fellas from Podcast is Making Me Thirsty. So I guess I'll do 80s first. So my backup pick that I mentioned, I'm going to go to 1986 and Oliver Stone's Platoon. If you've never seen this movie, yeah, this is kind of a laugh riot too, a little bit. This is Charlie Sheen. He's recruited to go to Vietnam. Oliver Stone directed this movie. Oliver Stone kind of had a Vietnam trilogy almost. So there was this movie, Platoon. There's Born on the 4th of July, which stars Tom Cruise. And then there's JFK, which stars
Mm,
Kevin Costner. So the way I've heard it is like Platoon is what it was like in Vietnam, like, on the ground. Because Stone did he served in the military and he was in Vietnam.
uh-huh.
And then Born on the 4th of July is what is it like when you come back from Vietnam? Like that part of the story. And then JFK is really the story of why did we even go to Vietnam in the first place? At least
Uh-huh.
from Stone's perspective. I won't get into all the crazy conspiracy theories about JFK. I do love JFK, the movie, but I'll
Back
take
into
Platoon
the left.
here. Yeah. Another great Seinfeld reference. Actually, there's a there's a Seinfeld reference to Platoon. If you remember in the Fatigues,
Yes.
when Frank he's cooking at the Knights of
To
Columbus thing,
uh-huh.
and they play that music in the background, that like string,
Uh-huh.
and everybody's getting sick, and he's like, "No, don't."
I sent 20 of my own men to the latrines that night.
Well, that's an homage to Platoon because
Mm,
that piece of music is called Adagio for strings, and it's played in Platoon. It's a very memorable scene with Willem Dafoe. Uh, I won't spoil it, but yeah.
Willem
So
Dafoe, who was also in Nosferatu, by the way.
yes, he was, and he was in The Northman too.
Oh,
For Platoon also has kind of a murderer's row. It's got Tom Berenger's in it. Keith David, if you know who Keith David is, he's more known for like his voiceover work. Keith David, that is. But yeah, Platoon,
not
excellent
related
film.
to Keith Hernandez.
No, or Larry David for that
Mm,
matter. All right, so I got one more pick, wild card.
yep.
I think I'm gonna go. Oh man. Okay, this movie cannot go. We cannot do a best picture draft and this movie go undrafted. I'm gonna go Godfather Part 2.
Okay.
I mean, you could pick either one, Godfather 1 or 2. I'm gonna go Part 2.
Personally, I'm a bigger fan of the second one too.
Yeah, because I mean, it's De Niro, like the whole like multiple timelines. De
Mhm.
Niro is at his best. Pacino's at his best. Um, yeah, it's. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at anybody if they took the first one. I mean, the first one's a masterpiece as well. But yeah, I'm gonna go. That's from '74, Part 2, and that does it for me, right? That's my last.
That's it. I'm flipping through. I'm scrolling through some of these older ones.
Yep. So
I
you
don't
got
know.
you
I've
got
got
one pick
my
left, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got my wild card. Um, oh man, I really liked the Hurt Locker. That was a really good movie. Um,
Yep. Saw that for the first time somewhat recently, actually.
okay.
That's Hurt Locker's the one with Jeremy Renner. Is that
Yes, I think
okay?
so.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, right. I remember because the year Hurt Locker won, that was Catherine Bigelow is the director.
Correct. Correct.
She
Beat.
formerly married to James Cameron, and in this year, Hurt Locker beat out Avatar for Best Picture,
Mhm.
which Avatar was directed by James Cameron. So you got
Yeah.
one pick left here for your wild card. A lot to choose from, honestly. We probably could have done like two picks each, honestly. And
Yeah. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go with another '90s movie.
okay,
I'm going to go with The Silence of the Lambs.
yeah, yeah. That's honestly, if I hadn't picked Forrest Gump, I'd have gone Silence of the Lambs. I'm not a, as I mentioned
Oh,
before, not a horror fan, but this movie is excellent. This
did
movie
you
is
ever
really good.
see the American Beauty? I really liked American Beauty.
I saw it
It's
when I was in like,
that's a real laugh riot too. If you
well, and it's kind of problematic now with the
right,
whole
yeah, that wouldn't
spacey
get
thing.
that
But
wouldn't get would not
I
get
did
made
see
today.
it. I did see it when I was in either high school or college because it came out in like '98, right? It
Yeah,
was, yeah, or '99. Um, yeah, that one was. I definitely, yeah, I definitely saw it. Another couple we didn't pick here, Gladiator, which
yeah,
is that's a man.
a
I was a,
beautiful mind.
so yeah. So being someone who majored in math, A Beautiful Mind it was I enjoyed it. I know it's kind of lost its luster as we've. The other thing with that in 2001, what did it beat out? It beat out. So some of these you have to remember. Like Forrest Gump gets a bad rap because it beat out Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction.
Hmm.
Beautiful Mind beat out. I'd have to go back and look to see what the other nominees were that year.
Remember The Shape of Water? One of them.
Yeah, I never saw it, but I remember. Yeah,
I just
I remember.
remember seeing the preview. I was like, this looks like garbage.
So I'm actually pretty impressed with myself. I've seen a good number of these like older ones. Like if you go back to The Apartment,
Midnight
1960,
Cowboy.
I saw that. Yeah, just saw Midnight Cowboy.
What is the apartment? No, I'm thinking of Rear Window.
Yeah, The Apartment's. I mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago when I watched it.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jack Lemmon and yeah, French
No,
Connection. I've seen recently.
we didn't
Again,
take
rest in peace.
we didn't take the other Seinfeld connection movie in the '90s, Schindler's List.
Oh yeah, Jerry was moving on her like the stormtroopers into Poland.
Or Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah, Cosmo versus Babs, maybe. Um, I've
Rocky.
seen the I've seen the Deer Hunter within the last year or so. That's another. Phew, oof, talk about rough.
Which one?
Yeah, Rocky, the Deer Hunter
Hmm.
with Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken. Um, Annie Hall is most notable because it beat out Star Wars, the original, The New Hope, Episode 4, for Best Picture.
I've seen The Sound of Music and My Fair Lady.
There you go. Yeah, there's a couple of gaps here that I need to probably reconcile. I've seen Casablanca from 1942.
Yeah, I've never seen
Yeah,
that.
I need to go back and watch it again, but I've seen it, and it's as good as people says it is. Yeah, this is really. Oh, in the '70s, I did want to mention, man, the '70s. So I'm just going to run through the '70s, or
Oh,
actually, so
Rebecca was a movie. Did you read Rebecca? We had to read Rebecca in high school.
oh yeah, it's a Hitchcock movie, I think.
Oh wow.
I think Hitchcock made that. I never read the story. I've never read the story nor what year was it? Rebecca 40.
1940. Yeah,
Was this Hitchcock? Yeah,
it
this
is.
is
It is.
Hitchcock. Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned Midnight Cowboy. So Midnight Cowboy won in 1969. Let me just go through the 1970s real quick. This it's kind of a murderer's row of movies here. So 70 not Platoon, Patton. This is George C. Scott as George Patton, which is widely considered a good movie. The French Connection we talked about. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. Then The Godfather. Then The Sting. Have you seen The Sting with
No.
Paul Newman and Robert Redford? That's a great movie. Godfather 2 in 74. 1975, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That's
that's a
very
classic.
good. 76 is Rocky, which, Rocky's one of, if not the greatest sports movie of all time. Annie Hall in 77, we talked about that one. Deer Hunter in 78, and then Kramer vs. Kramer. So a little more, a little heavier fare, I guess, towards the back end there of the decade. Talked about Rain Man, Driving Miss Daisy in 89.
Never saw it.
Never saw it. How about Unforgiven? Did you see Unforgiven in
Have not.
92? Again, rest in peace, Gene Hackman. He's in that one. He won Best Supporting Actor for that movie. What else do we have here? Well, I should mention 1998, Shakespeare in Love. Do you know what Shakespeare in Love beat out for Best Picture?
I feel like I know this, but I can't remember. I remember at the time, but I remember
Saving Private
Ryan. Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty big for some folks. That's a pretty big travesty, which I would include myself in that. Saving Private Ryan to me is a classic film. I'm sorry, I'm looking up. I want to look up who won the Oscar, or what did A Beautiful Mind beat out for Best Picture. That's what it was. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, but he got one for Return of the King.
Yeah, Return of the King.
Which I'm okay with, right? He got one for the whole trilogy.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. So on the Big Picture podcast that I mentioned, they were talking about Dune. So Dune Part 2 was nominated for Best Picture. It did win. Dune Part 2, that is, won for like sound editing and like visual effects. Like lower level Oscars. And they were kind of drawing a comparison between that and Lord of the Rings. So the second Lord of the Rings movie, The Two Towers, was nominated for Best Picture, didn't win, but won sound editing and visual effects. And then the third movie in the trilogy, Return of the King, won Best Picture. Well, the third movie in the Dune trilogy is coming out next year or the year after.
The Dune Prophecy.
Dune Prophecies, yeah. So the thought is that movie is going to win. It's when it gets its turn, and that'll be kind of a collective award for the whole trilogy. Although, from what I hear, because Dune Prophecies is based off on the Frank Herbert books. I've heard the content in Dune Prophecies is kind of out there a little bit. So
I know it takes place like way before the first two.
Oh, really?
Parts of the series. It's like 10,000 years before.
Oh,
it's a prophecy. So,
well, I thought it was a continuation of 2, but okay.
No, I don't think so.
Let me check something here. Chicago. I remember when Chicago came out, that was kind of a phenomenon. And I saw it, and it was fine. But it beat out. What movie did it beat out? It beat out The Two Towers. Yeah, so the first 2 Lord of the Rings movies lost to A Beautiful Mind in Chicago. And then $1 Million Baby. Did you see $1 Million Baby?
It's been a long time. I don't remember very much of it.
That's a rough. Yeah, it's probably for the better that you don't. It's one of those it's one of those movies with a twist that you're like, wait, what are we doing? That's where this is going.
Doesn't that have to do with being on life support or something?
It does.
Okay. She's in a coma. I didn't know it was possible to come out of a coma.
She shot into that coma pretty quick.
Yeah, I got 2 hours left. I watched that episode this weekend.
I Cosmo Kramer, having seen that movie,
Just watch the
having just
Other Side of Darkness.
The Other Side of Darkness. Another movie that didn't age well is Crash, the 2004.
Oh, that movie was terrible. I watched that, and
Yeah.
I remember me and my college roommate decided to rent it to watch it because it won Best Picture, and we got
Yeah.
through that with that movie, and we were like, "Well, that sucked."
Yeah, that one beat out the everybody thought Brokeback Mountain was going to win that year, and not the case. And then we Departed, No Country for Old Men. I remember Slumdog Millionaire because that year, the 2008 year, that was the year I worked in the movie theater. So I got to see. I didn't get to see Slumdog in the movie theater. I had to I think I had to boot. I'm a bootlegger. Had to had to find alternative means, let's say, to watch it, and it was all right. It was but yeah. So you want to recap? Let's recap our picks here real quick. I'll start it off. So I took for my 2000. So for my 2000s, I took No Country for Old Men. 2010s, I took Parasite. 1990s, I took Forrest Gump. Platoon, I took the 1980s. And for Wild Card, I took Godfather Part 2. What about you, Brent?
Oh, I had myself muted there. That was excellent work by me. All right.
I was like, wait a minute.
I'd coughed earlier. That's why. And so I had muted myself. So I took Oppenheimer. Let me read this again.
I'm sure it was great the first time. Let's hear it again.
Oppenheimer for my 2010s. The Departed for the 2000s. Rain Man for the 1980s. Titanic for the 90s. And The Silence of the Lambs as my wild card.
Yeah. So no, we left a little bit of meat on the bone, but
there's a lot of meat.
There's a lot of meat there. So, by the way, real quick, so Forrest Gump reminded me. I think I texted you this over the weekend. So, I think it was the defensive line drill. One of the drills at the combine. The coach that was in charge of running the drill was from the Cowboys, and I apologize. I don't remember the name of the guy, but when it was one of these drills where I think it was one of the lineman drills where they had to like if they moved their hands this way, they had to go that way.
You hold the ball left and right.
Right, and then you do that for a little while, and then they do like this. They kind of bring the ball forward, and you got to sprint forward. Well, this coach, whenever he would do bring the ball forward or indicate that he wanted the person to sprint, he would let out this yell, and it reminded me of the scene in Forrest Gump when he's in the Marines or he's in the Army, and his drill sergeant he's like he puts his weapon together. He says, "Done, drill sergeant," and then you hear from across the room, you just hear, "Gap!" So this coach from the Cowboys reminded me of that drill sergeant.
Gap!
Yes, exactly. Every time he would do it, and it's honestly one of my favorite scenes in Forrest Gump because not just for that part, but for what follows. Because I won't repeat any of it because it gets into some salty language there, but I encourage
this is
folks
a family
to watch
podcast.
Yeah, of course, Brad. But yeah, we just talked about Honora for earlier, but that just reminded me when we were doing this and we talked about Forrest Gump. All right, so anything else you want to talk about the draft before we move on here?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so a couple of housekeeping items here, a couple of, I guess, programming notes here. Brandon, you are going on a little European vacation, as it were.
Yeah, I'm going to take the channel. I'm going to Toscana to
All right.
see if I can find a house next to Bob Cobb.
Yeah.
So I'll be overseas for for a little while.
All right. So, well, safe travels, of course. Bring us back some memorabilia,
I'll see what I can
or at
do.
least, or at least some good stories, if nothing else.
Maybe I can get some Krona.
I forgot about that. I
don't want to hear about how interesting the coin with the hole in it is.
I was in the grocery store the other day, and I walked by the frozen foods, and I saw vegetable lasagna. Speaking of that episode, so with
Vegetable
that,
lasagna, this guy, he means nothing to me.
we may be taking a slight break while Brandon is abroad, as it were. You may just be hearing me next week. Maybe recap some free agency stuff. I'll try to get some guests maybe in the meanwhile. And then I'm working on a kind of a side podcast project. Hopefully, we'll have some more information about that here shortly. Hopefully, before Brandon gets back, we'll have that up and going. But until next time, until you hear us both, it'll be probably early April.
Yep.
So until then, happy football, everybody.
Happy football.